Hi everyone, so today we're going to focus on our ABLEs and our LY suffixes. We have talked a little bit about them, but we're going to talk a little bit more now. ABLE, we've gone a little bit more extensively, but I just want to keep bringing some of these things up into some of our lessons because it's very important that you have repetition in your learning, because that's really what helps you learn, is by repeating things. Also, we have briefly brought up our I's followed by a vowel. They say E, but within this lesson, we are really going over this spelling rule, and it's a reading rule. So if you really understand that, then you are going to read and spell so much better. So some of the things that our LY means, so it's a single L sound. We don't do the double L sound if there's two L's there. For the LY, it says Lee, okay? Single L sound for that. And most of the time, they are adverbs. And also, these LYs could sometimes mean respect to and a specific manner. So boys, I really actually wanted you guys to understand they could mean these, and we've never really talked about that. Mean with respect to. Okay, we always talk about how they're the how, but I really wanted you guys to see with respect to. It's a specific manner, and that's kind of what it means for an LY. But so now we have, let's talk about them as an adjective. So you have your base word and you add on your LY as a suffix. So your base word here is what? Week. So that is a noun. So we're adding on our LY and we're going to say weekly. So now we just changed our noun to an adjective. And that's how it works. The usage as an adverb, we say how do we describe it? So when I see as an adverb, I'm always saying, how is it being described? Okay? Now this is the meaning, but we talk about how it's being described. Okay? So it provides more information for the sentences that you're using them in. Okay, so now let's look at some examples here of some LY adverbs. So we have boldly. So bold is a what? If it's all by itself.
It's a unit sound.
Well, it is a unit sound, you're right. But as a word, what is it in a sentence? Is it an adjective? What part of speech does it fit? It's actually verb, because you wouldn't say the bold, because you would say the bold boy. So this sits as an adjective. You add on your LY and you get an adverb. Okay, how is he acting? He's acting boldly. Finally, same thing here. We have final, the final round. So see how this is an adjective. You're adding on your LY suffix and it's making it switch its sound to an adverb. How are they acting? When is it finished? The class is finally finished. See how it's describing finished. Okay, gladly. Glad is a verb. It could also act as an adjective, but you add an LY and it's acting as an adverb. So what do adverbs describe? So they describe verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. Okay? Happily. So we're going to change our Y to I and add on your suffix. And happy is an adjective. And it switched to an adverb right here. Proud. Be used as an adjective. The proud boy. Okay, the boy is proud.
Predicate adjective.
Yeah, so that would still be working as an adjective. So this is an adjective, acting, and then you add on your LY and it changes to an adverb. How is the boy acting? Proudly. Partially. Okay, partial, the partial cake. Okay, so it's acting as an adjective here, and then you add on your LY and you have your adverb. So great, the great man. It's an adjective. You add on your ly. How is the man acting? Greatly. Okay? Lovely. The lovely boy. The lovely girl. Okay? That is acting as what? That right there is an adjective. Now, let's look at usage as adjectives. Those were in your adverbs. Now we have friendly. You're taking your ly, you're putting it on your noun, and it's causing it to be an adjective. Cuddly. Now this is a little bit different because we don't have it as a suffix, just adding it on. So sometimes we do have words like this. Like if we had cud, that's like a cow chewing its cud. We don't have it sitting all by itself as a base word. So, but this is still an ly. Okay? The cuddly child. Okay. Now earthly. This is a noun. You're putting on your ly, and it's now turned it into an adjective. The earthly. The earthly what? The earthly soil, the earthly
trees.
The earthly trees. I like that. Okay. The earthly worms. Okay, now frilly. Also, here is a different. The frill is your base word, and you're adding a y, but these are still ly adjectives. The frilly girl, the frilly what? The frilly dress, right? The jolly man. So these ones are a little bit interesting, but they are still lys. We still count them. The smelly man. See how that's acting as an adjective, not these don't work as adverbs. Now, are adjectives ly words? Well, the answer is yes. Are adjectives ly words? Sometimes. That's what Paul says. Yes, they are sometimes. Not all adjectives are ly words, but yeah, sometimes they are. So look at these, very and extremely. So very and extremely, they're actually adverbs to a degree. And a lot of people think these are adjectives when they're not. They oftentimes come before your noun, but there's typically an adjective between that. So the very nice boy, see how it's describing nice. It's very nice. They're not saying very boy. So the extremely nice boy, see how extremely is describing nice. And it's so, but these sometimes will get confused as adjectives and they're not, okay? But they tell a degree. So there are over 100 ly adjectives, okay? But only a few can be both adjectives and adverbs. So sometimes they'll intermingle, but only a few of them will do that. Lys, they have two forms, okay? So we have hard and hardly. So see how we have your base word, and then we have hardly. So I'm basically telling you, you have your base word and you have your ly. There's the two parts. But this is unusual right here. Hard as a base word means it's hard. That's a hard job. But this doesn't mean that same thing. This is unusual. There are a few of these where the ly, oftentimes the ly changes how they act in a sentence, but your base word is still basically the same meaning, and it just moves it around in the sentence and it's describing different things. This is not doing that. This is hard work. This is I'm hardly doing whatever. See how it changed that? But this is still an ly. So just be careful that sometimes that happens when you have them. So the lys change into adverbs. Most of them are adverbs. I would say around 80%-ish. So for instance, we have coward plus ly. So you have your base word coward, which is a noun. And this one actually acts as an adjective, the cowardly lion. Okay, do you see that? That would be an adjective. Dangerously, dangerous plus ly. There's two forms right here. Dangerous plus ly. Okay, and this will change this. Whatever this is, it's going to change it. And most of the time, I typically ask the question, how does it change it? How does it do this ly? Well, it does it dangerously. Beautifully, beautiful plus ly. There's one, there's two. You need the two forms to make it. How are they acting beautifully? How? So let's just ask the question. Generally. See, here you can hear this L and this L. Same thing here. Beautifully. Generally. You can hear both those L's right here. Lovely. Love plus ly means lovely. Motionlessly. So you have to be also careful because you can't just say motionly. See how we needed another suffix right here, but still it's one part plus two parts. That's how you're making your how. Motionlessly. Perfectly. Perfect plus ly. Quick plus ly. Quickly. Sad plus ly. Sadly. Wrong plus ly. Wrongly. So you're going to take this verb and add on your ly and change it into an adverb, right? You're going to take this verb and add your ly and change it on how, okay? And it's going to be wrongly, and it's become an adverb. So now we're going to go into the section where we have our I followed by a vowel. Okay, so we're going to move into we're talking more about our grammar, but it's a lot of our phonetics. The rule is if you have an I followed by a vowel, that I is going to say E. And that's in multi-syllable words. That is not how it is in one-syllable words. Violet. But this is not saying E. It's because it starts the beginning of the word. Now, not every word is going to be like that, but oftentimes, if the I is the very first syllable, it's going to say I. And it's not going to say violet. This says violet. Violet. So when you say it nice and fast, it will say violet. Violet. Cardio. That I is saying E because it's followed by a vowel. Superior. That I is saying E because it's followed by that vowel right there. Polio. That I is saying E because it's followed by this vowel. Polio. This is a 3-syllable word. Simulation. Well, isn't that I supposed to say E if it's followed by a vowel? What happened here? Right here is part of a digraph. So you have to be careful. If you have a TI or a CI or an SI followed by an A or an O, it could say shh. Okay? So you have to be really careful with those. Shun. So this is your TION unit sound. Ontario. Scenario. Scenario. Ontario. Conversion. Well, what happened here? How come that's not saying conversion?
Because it's not followed by a vowel.
Well, it's because this is part of a unit sound. So if you are memorizing your TIONs, your SIONs at least, those, all of a sudden you're able to see that. Conversion. Previous. That I is followed by a vowel, so it's saying E. So if you're hearing E, and then the next letter is a vowel, most likely you're going to be spelling it with an I, right, boys? Okay. Patio. Patio. Now this is one of those weirdo words where you want to say patio. See how it's like, right, you have vowels right here, but you don't, you say patio. But it does want you to force you into saying that D sound. And you should force yourself into saying the t sound. Violin. Now, right here we have this I right here. It's saying I because it's the very first syllable. So that's the reason why that won't switch. Now sometimes it switches, but most of the time if it's the very first I in the very first syllable, it's not switching. Devotion. This is a digraph, so it's not switching. Period. That is an I followed by the vowel, so it's switching. Period. Okay, and this is the unaccented closed syllable, so it's switching to schwa right here. Minion. Now, oftentimes you have ION that says yun or un, and I would just get words that have this and pronounce them and have them in your spelling words, because you will get lots of words that say yun or un for here, and this turns to schwa. So same thing, that is the same. And now we have lion right here. Why is this saying I? And then this goes to schwa. It's well, this says lie, not lion. This doesn't say lion, it says lion. It's because it's the very first I. It's the very first syllable. It's not the very first I, but it's the very first syllable in the word. And it's open. So that's going to happen when you have open syllables. That happens when the I is open. See how these are open syllables. But this is the beginning. Riot. See? The I is being long, but it's also saying I because it's the very first syllable. So this right here says intaglio. And this is open, and it's saying E. But this G is actually silent in this word. Bio. This means life, and this is the very beginning. Ion. See how it's the very first, so it's going to say I. This is unusual. This says trio right here, boys. And it is following the spelling rule here, or it's following the spelling rule here, but this is unusual. So this means three, like the trio, but this is trio, like tricycle. Tricycle right here. See how it's saying I, but here it's saying E. So sometimes it does happen that it will say I, or sometimes it will switch to E, like this word. All right, so now we talked about the O, I, O. So it's after a vowel. So gabion. It's a 3-syllable word. This happens in 2-syllable words. Gabion. Behavior. Now right here, boys, look, this one is actually silent, and you would have to study this as a spelling word to really get this right. Okay? We don't say behavior. Behavior. It just ends up going silent. Bryony. This right here says I because it's the very first syllable. Cardio, E-O. Audios, A-D-Os. Now you have, that's a suffix, audio. Can you guys see it? A-D-O. Millennium. Now this right here, see how it's an I then a U? See how it hits the vowels? Triunes. Now this I is saying I because it's the very first syllable. Do you guys remember that? So that'll help your reading a lot. Now sometimes it does go to E, but most of the time it says I. I, O, ni, ums, ioniums. That's the first syllable. This is followed by a vowel. And it's not the first syllable. Odium. Odious. Now this right here, when you hear us, O-U-S. When you hear E-us, it's typically I-O-U-S. So when you're spelling E-us, almost always it will be an I-O-U-S. Not always. Now auditorium. E-um. See, it's an I-U. Mediums, I-U. So the English language has no double I's. So if you see a double I and you're trying to learn English, it doesn't come from our language. Okay? That's why when we're adding on our suffix, any suffix that has an ing, and we're changing the Y to I, we don't change the Y to I when we're adding on that ing because we don't have double I's. Let's look at the IAs. So the only vowel that this won't really be with is with the I's. So all the other vowels will be with. The will work with that. So except for Y's. You won't really see them with Y's either. Media. Briared. Briared. Why is that I saying I? It's because that is the very first syllable. Does that make sense? So if it's saying I, it's the very first syllable. If it's in the other parts, 2, 3, 4, 5, then it will say E when it's followed by a vowel. So look at this one. Say that word.
Cilia.
Good. Cilia. So we have E here. And that I right there is saying I because it's a closed syllable. Piano. This word, so many people cannot spell this word because you would think it would be a P-E because it's not following the rule, but it's a P-I. It's changing with this vowel, but most I's say pie if it's open or pit if it's closed in the very first syllable, but this is not. This is an unusual word. Giant. See how this I right here, boys, is saying I because it's the first syllable. Giant. Taffia. I-A. It's an I, then a vowel. This says right here, vidya. And it's a closed syllable because it falls right like this. Right? But we're not hearing the vidya. This I right here is keeping this G to say J and not G. That's a little bit unusual. Pious, it's saying I because it's at the beginning. So this will help you a lot but if you know that the I right here, the very first syllable will say either I or I depending on if it's open or closed. But if it's open, it's going to say what? I. So it's open, it's going to say I. If it's the very first syllable. Dial. It's the very first syllable, so it's going to say I. Trial. It's the very first syllable, so it says I. Burial. Now this one is interesting because you had a base word here where it says bury and it was a Y. Change the Y to I and add your suffix. That was a Y. What was the Y sound in bury? What?
E.
Right. So oftentimes the Y, when it changes to the I, it will keep the sound that it had before it changed. Sometimes it will change, but most of the time it will keep the sound. Okay? Burial. Cereal. Now this is a word that doesn't follow the spelling rule. See, it says EA right there. And the reason why, this is a vowel team in so many words, and I think this would be super confusing if we didn't have it like this. If we had EAs, because EAs say several different sounds, and then you would have to figure out all of these other words and break it apart. Does that make sense? Retrial. So partial. Well, how come this isn't changing? Because this is a digraph that says shh. So you have to be really careful with your TIs, CIs, and SIs if it's followed by a vowel. Because it could say teal, or it could say shul, whatever the word is. Pizzeria, billiard. This one, when you say it fast, it's silent. So when you slow it down, billiard, you can kind of hear it when you slow the word down. So we have optician. See, this is a digraph, but it's followed by a vowel. So that's why that's saying shh and not un. Crucial, same thing here. This is a digraph. It's not saying crucial, it's saying crucial. So be careful with those. Radiate, it's I followed by a vowel. Cereal, I followed by a vowel. So these are the same, these are homophones right here. This is the cereal that you eat, chomp, chomp, chomp. And this is the cereal, like cereal in numbers. But see, look at the difference. Okay, social, this is a digraph, right? Militia, this is a digraph, so you need to be careful. Malaria, CEA. Special, this is a digraph. So not all I's followed by a vowel will say or EO, whatever on the A's. You've got to be careful with those digraphs in here. Material, see, material. Reliable. Official, see, this is a digraph. Marriage, so we don't hear marriage, right? This becomes silent and you can't hear it, but we know it's there because we have a base word right there. But we don't say marriage in this word. Memorial, torrential, this is a digraph. Dentalium, this is E because it's followed by a vowel. Partially, see that? Partially, this is digraph. Okay? Potential, this is a digraph. These are super confusing, especially when you're trying to learn hard words. Financial, digraph, it's not changing. Perennial, look, EO. Historian, EUN. Diameter, why is that saying I? It's the very first syllable. So open eyes, if it's the very first syllable, it's going to say its I sound most of the time. Guardian, look right here. E, it's going to say E, and it's followed by a vowel, so it's going to say E-un. Judicial, this is a digraph. Dialogue, how come that's saying dia, Paul? How come that's saying die? Yeah, Dan?
Because it's the first I.
You're right, it's the very first syllable. And they're open. It is affected is when it's an open syllable. Closed syllable actually are not affected in that right there at the beginning like that. Okay, does that make sense? Do you see that? Subrubia. Subrubia.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, I do know what you were thinking. It's similar to Serbia. This is subrubia. Magnolia. This one kind of blends together, but when you break it apart, it is definitely ea. Enviable, ea. Amiable, ea. Tried. Hysteria, E-A. Dialogic, what happened there?
It's the first.
It's the first syllable, it's open. Carriage, how come we're not saying E-A here?
Second syllable.
Well, this is an unusual word. It goes the same as marriage. The I sound is dropped. We don't say carriage. This is unusual. There's only a few words that this happens where you're changing the Y to an I and then you're adding on your suffix, but the sound drops even though it's still there. Unbiased. But look, this isn't the first syllable, but why is it saying by? Because this is a prefix. You could have biased, and then it's the first syllable. Propria. Now this is Latin, and it goes with a phrase, but I just wanted to pull that part of the phrase out. So you can even read words that really aren't in your language that you study, and if you can follow some of the spelling rules, it will help you read it. Scandia. E-A. Dyslexia. Now this says E-A. This is Greek and dis means difficulty with reading right there. Insomnia. This is saying E because it's followed by a vowel. Appliance. What's that saying? Appliance. It's saying I. You guys know why? Because you have the base word that says apply, and that Y said I. So when you change the Y to an I and you add on your vowel suffix, it's keeping that I sound. So that will help you read these words if you can understand that you have a base word here. This is your chameleon, this is your Latin root, and this is your suffix. Artificial. That is a digraph. Brilliant. Now right here, this kind of goes silent. So sometimes they will go silent, like here, and we had marriage and carriage, but sometimes you'll have them. We don't say brilliant, even though you can kind of hear it in there. You hear brilliant. So sometimes you'll hear that. Undeniable. That's saying I. It was a Y. It's changing. See right there? It's not saying undeniable. It's saying undeniable. Radiator. Radiator. It's saying E with a vowel. Tibia. It's saying E followed by a vowel. Phobia. The E sound followed by a vowel. Imperial. It's saying the E sound and it's followed by a vowel. So if you want to spell it and you hear E and it's followed by the vowel, spell it with an I. If you have to guess that. Spell it with an I if it's followed by a vowel, unless it's your very first syllable. Then you spell it with an E. Okay? This is an unusual word. This says unsha. So this is a digraph. Agnosia. 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 Same thing here. It would be a hard word, but you can spell it. You can decode it. Area. Now this one is kind of fun because this follows the spelling rule, but we also have area. And this word we use all the time, and it does not follow the spelling rule. Okay? Median. You have the E sound followed by a vowel, but you spell it with an I and then your vowel. So curry is your base word. You're changing the Y to I and you're getting the E sound. So with this, so courier, that is an I followed by a vowel and it's going to say E. And you have a base word that says curie, but also this might trip you up a little bit because you might just think it's an IR. Courier. But you can hear it. Courier. And if you hear all by itself, you know you have a vowel R. Snowfield. Now these can also trip you up because you have a vowel team right here. This is not breaking apart. Like this word broke apart. It's not a vowel team. This one is a vowel team. So this happens in so many words. So you just need to be really careful that you're not thinking that's an I followed by a vowel. And so it says old. Snowfield. So does that make sense? Conscientious. Conscientious. So right here, it's saying E because it's followed by a vowel. Here, it breaks apart. Irretrievable. Here, it's a vowel team. Gradient. Here, it breaks apart. See, it's open. It's saying E. Ent. Now, oftentimes at the end like this, you will see this part with a closed syllable. When you see an IE at the end of a word, it will probably be a vowel team. Okay? Now, IOs and IAs are at lots and lots of words at the end. But IEs, not so much. Underlie. See, look. That's a vowel team at the end that says I. Fancier. See? You have a vowel R. So you're going to hear that E-er. You're going to have them at vowel R's. You're going to have them in closed syllables here. You won't have it as much at the end with vowel teams like this. See, this is a closed syllable right here. Bodied. This was a Y, and now we change the Y to I and say our vowel suffix right here. Bodied. Client, see? Why is that saying I? Because it's the very first open I. Candied. It's saying that was a Y, so it's saying E, but it's still following the spelling rule. Mantelpiece. This is a vowel team. Denier. Oh, what's this saying? It's saying I. It's because its base word said I. Deny is your base word. Booty. See a vowel team. Quiet. Right here. Why is it saying I, Paul?
Because it's the first.
It's the very first syllable. It's open. It says I. Comparabilities. That's a vowel team. Alien. Okay? Right here, it's saying E because it's followed by a vowel. Diesel. This is a vowel team. Diet. This is the very first syllable, so it's saying that's long I sound. Yield. This is a vowel team. Plies. This was a Y that said I. That's the reason why this is still saying I. Plies. And so this, when you change the Y to I and add ES, this becomes a vowel team. Spy, same thing here. This becomes a vowel team. Now this says science, and this is saying I because it's the very first syllable, right? Science. A lot of people have a hard time spelling this word, especially because this is Greek. And if you see an SC at the beginning like that, and it's followed by an E, I, or a Y, you know that it is Greek. Peace. Vowel team. See how this can be super confusing if you're trying to read English words. This is actually a town, so this should be capitalized. This says fear. It's just a vowel team. Audience. It is saying E because it's followed by a vowel. Niece. This is a vowel team. Tears. This is a vowel team. See how that can be a little bit confusing? Able. If it's a suffix, it's going to say able. A-B-L-E. And if it's its very own word, what does it say?
Able.
Able, because the A is the accented syllable. Because your consonant LEs are never accented. I'm sure you have exceptions, but they're not. And this means to be able to have. And typically when we talk about it, we just say able to. But I really wanted to extend it to help you guys really think, really, what does this mean? Let's advance it a little bit more. To be able to have. It turns words into adjectives. Some things you are able to do. Now, it can be its very own word like we talked about, which means good at, skilled, very operating, to do something, get better with, a skill. That's what the actual word able means. Okay, so let's look at some words that has to do with able. Now we have considerable. What is this?
Con.
Yeah, nice. And it's con, it actually goes to schwa.
Prefix.
It is a prefix. And yeah, it's a chameleon prefix. Good, Paul. And it means what? Do you guys remember?
No.
With. With, and this means considerable, so able to do. So what do you think sitter could mean? Heavenly body. Looking at the constellations, you're thinking in thought. That's where this word came from. So when you are considerable, it's something that you've thought about. You're thinking. You've looked into the heavens, and that's where that word came from. We don't even use it really that way anymore. I mean, we do use it for considerable thinking, but we don't. But many years ago, people studied the heavens so much, and we still study the heavens, but lots and lots of people study the heavens, and we don't do that the same way.
By heavens, you mean the stars.
Yeah, the stars, the constellations. That's where that fits into. Isn't that interesting, you guys? Here, to be able to have. You're looking into the heaven. Now, distinguishable. This is a chameleon prefix. You're able to do this. Something you're able to do. You're able to distinguish something. Expandable. That's a chameleon prefix. That is a root. You are able to do this. Something you're able to do. You're able to expand it. Fashionable. Hey, and by the way, this SH is one of the few words where you're going to have an SH in the middle of words, because they typically go at the beginning and at the end. What do we have in the middle? TIs is in CIs. So this is one of those few words that will do that. Okay? And also, let's look at that. This doesn't say fashion. It just says shun. Okay? Just like SHI, the other one would be CI or TI or SI, but this is SHI. Just unusual word right there. Foldable. You're able to do it. Something you're able to do. You're able to fold this. Okay? Honorable. Well, I think that's to be able to have. You're able to have honor. Marketable. You're able to have it. You have something that you can market and sell. So we have assumable. That means you have your prefix right here, and that means to. Do you guys remember that? And some means to take. Assumable. You're assuming something. You're just taking somebody's opinion. You're able to just take it. You're assuming. Okay, breathable. Your breath. You're able to breathe. Okay? What are you able to do? You're able to breathe. Something you are able to do. Right there. Construable. Con means with. Okay? Stru is a Latin root. Construable. Now, just bringing in one, destructible. Now remember, if you have IBLE, almost always it's going to be connected to a Latin root and it's going to be very, very old. Now I didn't do very many of these because I mostly wanted to talk about the ABLE. Those are newer words than IBLE, but just a little hash out on the IBLEs also. Here is your Latin root, here's your prefix, here's your suffix. That means able to do or able to have. All right, you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.